Okay, guys, welcome. Welcome everyone. I'm seeing the introduction going on here. Nice to meet you, Fortune. Nice to meet you, Peter. It's nice meeting every one of you here. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm sure we all are. So this event is organized by Bincom Dev Center, and before we go into the um, what we have to do today, that's the meetup proper. Let me just do a brief introduction of who we are at Bincom Dev Center and what we do. Okay, so let me share my, okay. Okay, so you're all welcome to Bincom Dev Center, and we are a multi-location talent development and solution platform. So we have our location first virtually near you, and we also have our physical locations in Lagos State, Oyo State, Kano State, Kaduna State, Ogun State, Delta State, United Kingdom, and we also have plans to extend as many locations as possible. These are some of the services Bincom offers. We have Bincom Academy, which utilizes Montessori approach in training participants in basic skills needed for the modern technology ecosystem. So if you're looking to start a career in tech or any tech skill, this particular service is for you. Our Bincom Academy program is for you. We have our Bincom Tech Internship. It is designed to enable people at intermediate skill levels gain mastery and expertise over a period of time. So if you have skills, if you have a particular tech skills and you need where you can intern, then Bincom Tech internship is for you. We also have Bincom Tech apprenticeship, which is an industrial attachment at various skill levels to gain experience and on-the-job training. I'm sure this might be for you. So if you are interested in any of this service, please look out for the chat. We'll be sharing relevant links so you can show interest in any of the services we offer. Then we have Bincom Community Events and Project, which is geared at giving back to the community and building the tech ecosystem. So we focus on informing and exposing the youth to the current technology trends and how to prepare for the future in technology. One of our community events is the Python Meetup, which we are currently having right now. So if you're interested in joining more of our community events, we'll also be sharing relevant links in the chat so you can show interest for any of these events, and we'll let you know when we're having the next one. So we have Bincom Lightspace, which provides helpful workspace intended to encourage collaboration and drive innovation. In the startup ecosystem. We have spaces that is created and designed for various events like seminars, conferences, and get-together. We also have our Bincom Global Tech Program. The Bincom Dev Center Global Tech Program is your solution to launch your tech career globally. It is a 1 to 2 years program that is focused on three key pillars: learn skills, gain experience, gain exposure. So if you have ready skills and you need where to intern, Bincom Global Tech Program is the most suitable for you. We also have, if you also have these skills and you need experience, you need exposure, trust me, Bincom Global Tech Program is for you. So if you're interested in this particular program, I'll also be sharing relevant link for you to sign up or show interest for any of these services. We have our Emigrate, which helps you become globally attractive, and it's your tech-enabled pathway to relocation and settlement in countries like UK, USA, Canada, and France. We have a Bincom mentoring platform. It is structured mentoring solution to help mentors add value to mentees for the purpose of building globally attractive techies. Then we have Labs by Bincom, which is a 3 to 6 month pre-incubator program that brings together participants to build a digital technology product which will be used by real life users. We have our Bincom Tech Career Coaching. It helps individuals to learn their next role faster by offering a combination of coaching, relevant on-the-job training, career references, introduction to tech recruiters, etc. So if any of these services is of your interest, please show indication of interest. I'll be sharing relevant links in the chat so you can fill them and we'll contact you. Okay, so today we'll be having amazing speakers with us, and we have Fortune here. She's a very amazing. I'm sure you don't even want to miss this session, so please sit tight. This is meant to be an engaging session, so drop your questions and we'll all create room for questions, and you can drop all the necessary questions you want to ask. So the topic for this event is generative modeling. Okay, so before we go to that, let's familiarize with this topic, right? Let's see how many persons are a bit familiar with this topic, and then before we bring up the speaker, and we'll also hear from their own point of view what generative modeling is. So before then, let's all just familiarize. This is meant to be a meetup. It's meant to be as engaging as possible. So please, I wouldn't want any dull moment. I wouldn't want us to keep quiet. You can use the chat. You can raise your hand if you want to speak, and I will let you speak. So any idea, what's your thoughts towards generative modeling? Yes, so anybody can just raise their hand and we'll go over that. Okay, I'm also watching out for the chats in case I see any. I can always read through.
Okay. Hello, good evening or good afternoon, everyone. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So for me, when you talk about generative modeling, I feel it's a class of statistic model that actually deals with different kinds of data. So that's like my understanding of generative model.
Okay, great. That's nice. So David, you want to speak? What do you know about generative modeling? You can just unmute and speak, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So generative modeling is actually a class of machine learning. It's like a technique that um allow models to create, like, let me put it this way. Allow models to be able to generate new data that are similar to like a particular given set. So they'll be checking for underlying like structures or patterns in that data. So because of that, they'll be able to like generate a new synthetic data sample, basically.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, so just a little or a brief intro into it before we call our speaker. Generative modeling involves training algorithms to understand data patterns and generate new content resembling the original data set. Prominent in this field are generative adversarial network GANs, which or where a generator creates content and a discriminator evaluates its authenticity. Okay, so moving forward, I'll just do a little um, I'll just read a little about or give a profile summary of our first speaker for today. Our first speaker for today is Fortune, and she is a resilient individual dedicated to positive impact, active in school debates. She honed her communication skills and passions for writing. She secured scholarships from US institutions aiming for medicine and computer science. Adversity redirected her to Covenant University Computer Science program, where she excelled as a course representative and welfare secretary. Her fascination with AI in medicine led to a desire for a master's in AI and robotics for healthcare. She's currently serving as a network and communication intern at Hawaii. And during her National Youth Service Corps, Fortune advocates for change through NGOs like She Evolution Africa. With unwavering commitment, she's set to make her mark. So let's put our hands together. You can use the clapping emoji here as we bring up our very first speaker for today's session, Fortune. The floor is yours, and we're so excited to have you here. Yeah, please let's use the reaction here. Let's use the clap reaction.
Thank you guys so much. It's funny because the bio is literally my biography, right? But hearing it again, it's interesting.
All right, it's nice having you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. So I understand I have only 15 minutes to speak, right?
You could take more. It depends on how engaging it gets. You could take more.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. All right. So I think I'll start off with sharing my screen. All right. Oh, it says here. So it says here that the host.
Yeah, sorry. Let me just make you okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can share your screen now.
Okay. All right. Okay. Share the screen. All right. I don't know. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes,
awesome. Awesome. All right. Let's start. Let's start with this. Okay, so I will be speaking. Good evening, guys. I was very nervous before this. I don't know why, but seeing how interactive this is, I don't know. I think I was expecting to be so formal, but it seems very interactive and I can calm down now. I'll be speaking today on generative modeling, and I just have to first of all thank you guys for this opportunity. I want to thank Bincom for this opportunity. Really, I was extremely excited, at the same time nervous, when I was told that I would be giving a presentation on generative modeling. And to be frank, it's my first time it's my first time ever having such a presentation, like outside of my own company. So that was why I was nervous. And I did my research on Bincom and I saw it was a wonderful company. And that just made me even more excited. So like she said, I'm currently serving. I heard somebody call me Ma. I'm not Ma. I'm a young girl. I'm currently doing my NYSC. I just graduated actually just very recently. And I will be speaking on generative modeling. So questions were asked concerning what generative modeling is. I heard every single one's response. It was very true, very apt. But I think I would love to give a heads up that I will be using a lot of analogies as I'm presenting on this topic, being generative modeling. And I really believe that using analogies is a great way to help people understand concepts, both new and complicated ideas. Generative modeling is a branch of machine learning and artificial intelligence, very apt. And just knowing that it's a branch of AI and machine learning should be enough to let us know that it's extremely complicated. There are lots of intricacies, lots of layers to the topic of generative modeling, right? And so that is why I will be employing the use of analogies so that I can present the concept of generative modeling in such a way that every single one here, whether or not you're interested in AI, although I don't believe that anyone here is not interested in AI, the very fact that you're here means that you have some form of interest in artificial intelligence, right? So in order to ensure that this topic of generative modeling, because when I was doing my research on it, I realized that it was very interesting, extremely interesting, right? And so it's my desire to see that every single one of you here actually grasp the magical abilities of artificial intelligence. AI is advancing in so many ways. And so I will be using analogies to ensure you guys grasp it as much as you should and as you can. So just a brief overview of what this would be. Like I said, artificial intelligence has undergone remarkable evolution. There have been so much groundbreaking advancements across numerous sectors. You have artificial intelligence taking over the healthcare sector. I mentioned the healthcare sector because I have a very huge passion for medicine. I have intentions of specializing in AI and robotics specific to the medical field, right? So AI is taking over so many sectors. You have the finance sector, the aviation sector. Well, I've not really heard anything about AI in the aviation sector, but I know that there is definitely AI principles and techniques that are being employed currently. Even if it's not widely known, I believe that some things are being done to work towards it. I don't know how willing any one of us here would be to fly an aircraft that is being driven by robots. How many of us? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions like this, but who is willing to actually go?
You're free to ask as many questions as possible.
Because now that I'm thinking about it, like, I don't know how willing I would be to climb a plane, to board a plane that is being driven by robots, but I know it's going to be extremely fascinating, right? And it's funny because that AI would have no empathy. So when the plane is crashing, there will be no heads up, there will be no speech, nothing. I feel like having human beings fly the plane, right? And it's about to crash, unfortunately, because those things happen. Just having a final speech of empathy is good. Let your last moments at least. So I'm sorry, I don't want to make this interview sad in any way. I think I have people wahala. I don't know. All right, so we see many people here are not willing, but there are extremities to it, obviously. I mean, I believe that even as we have robots flying the airplanes, it will definitely come forth through various researches. There will be lots of things done to ensure that it's safe. So don't be scared. Keep an open mind. Never say never. Anything can happen, trust me. Anyways, so let's move on. Let's not dwell too much. I don't think I have a lot of time. So this is the outline of what we'll be doing. We'll start off with the introduction, and then we would move on to looking at the types of generative models. There are many types of generative models, actually. So I pulled out just two major types of generative models that I believe should be known. And then we'll be looking at neural networks in generative modeling. I think I don't know whether it was Michael or David, when he was explaining what generative modeling is, you made mention of neural networks. So yes, we'll be talking of neural networks in generative modeling. We'll be looking at the application Then we will be looking at upcoming developments, because AI is constantly, it is always evolving, it's continuously advancing. We'll be looking at that, upcoming developments in generative modeling. And then finally, we will be concluding where we'll be taking questions and making it extremely interactive, where people will be sharing their own opinions and thoughts, because as much as I'm here to talk on generative modeling, I'm also here to learn. All right, so introduction. Generative modeling, unleashing the power of artificial intelligence, right, to create and simulate and innovate. So interestingly, I will be very, very frank and let you guys know, most of my research was done using ChatGPT. Yes, it was done using ChatGPT. And apparently ChatGPT is actually a software that is, that came forth through, that makes use of generative modeling. It makes use of the generative modeling called transformative, right? Which I didn't include in this because, I don't have a lot of time, but I definitely did make sure to include the most important generative models that we currently have today. All right, so generative modeling, like I said, there's too much talk here. And to be honest with you, I do not want you guys to come here, right? Because I believe that there are so many things you could be doing right now, but you're here in this meetup. So it's my desire that you actually go, you leave with something, and I'm not going to use a lot of technical terms. I will definitely be using technical terms, but like I said, I will be using a lot of analogies in order to ensure that any tricky concept around this generative, modeling, any tricky idea, right? I'll just break it down and make it simple for you to understand, make you more interested and better at remembering what we are talking about, so that you can go, when you go off, off this meeting, and, you can go and tell your friends, oh, I learned something new today. And, you'll be able to easily communicate it to them because it has been easily communicated to you. All right. So generative modeling, wait, let's just read this. Did I read that? I didn't read that. So generative modeling, I think I'm going forward instead of back. All right. So generative modeling. So generative modeling is, where is it? Why is it giving me this? Sorry for the inconvenience. All right. So generative modeling is driven by machine learning, revolutionizes industries. I'm really not down for this long talk. Let's just keep this. I just had to compile a presentation, right? But to be honest with you, I will be doing a lot more explaining than I will be doing reading. Because when I was in school, I'm going to be very, very frank again, I hated going to class because most of the time, the lecturers would just read directly from the board or from wherever. I apologize for the plane. I live close to an airport. It's flying by. All right. So the lecturers will be preaching. The lecturers will be reading directly from the board. They would not expatiate in any way, and you will just be extremely bored. And I do not want at all for anyone to be bored, right? So we're going to make this extremely interesting. I'll be making a lot of jokes like I did in the beginning, talking about the aircraft that was being driven by a robot and a crash and everything, so that I can keep you guys on your toes. I don't want anyone dozing off. So imagine, take generative modeling, right? In order for you to understand generative modeling, imagine you have a friend, you have an artist, you have an imaginary friend, right? You have an imaginary friend, or let's not say an imaginary friend. Let's say you have someone like Rapunzel who never saw the real world. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Rapunzel, but Rapunzel is basically a young lady who was trapped in a castle by her evil stepmother, and she never saw the real world until the day she decided to take a leap of faith, jump out. So I think she let her hair down. Rapunzel, let your hair down. Very annoying story, very funny story. She let her hair down. I can't remember how she escaped, but I know it has to do. It probably was with her hair, right? And then she stepped out and she saw, she was able to see real life. She saw the gardens. The only animal pet that she had then was a chameleon, but she was now able to see different other animals. So it was very fascinating to her. Now imagine you actually have a friend like that, right? Possibly the way you guys communicate is via letters. You've never seen this person before because the person is not allowed to come out. So the only way you guys communicate is via letters. And you want this your friend seems to have a passion for drawing. This your friend seems to have a passion for artists, for artistry, for create. She's very creative and everything, right? So you send her a picture of, of a dog or a cat. You send her this picture of a dog or a cat. And then, you send this to her maybe up to 5-6 times, different pictures of dogs, different pictures of cats, so that she can actually see, what dogs look like, what cats look like. Maybe you've explained to her via letter that, oh, I just got a new pet dog and everything. And she can't relate with you because she has never seen a dog before. So you send her a picture of the dog. Then you go further and send her many more pictures of dogs, right? And then she's very fascinated because, it's her first time seeing dogs. It's her first time seeing cats. And her imagination begins to run wild. And she now wants to make more images. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you don't send. Maybe it's expensive to do Waybill. Because I know Waybill is expensive. I don't know, Sha, but I think Waybill is expensive, right? Maybe you're tired of sending pictures of dogs. And now she still wants to see pictures of dogs and cats. So she takes it upon herself to allow her imagination run wild. And she begins to draw pictures of dogs and pictures of cats based on the image or based on the data that you sent her before, right? She begins to generate different pictures of cats doing different things. Maybe the pictures of the cats you sent her were just so basic. And so, because she's extremely creative, because there's just something that happens when you box people inside and, they just allow their imaginations to run wild. They can think of so many different things. And she's thinking of so many things based on the little that she has seen in the world, maybe in her parlor, maybe she's seen a ball and everything. So she begins to generate different pictures of cats, maybe playing dog. She can even go further and generate a picture of a hybrid, like a cat and a dog mixed together. That's how much her imagination has run wild. That's exactly how generative modeling is. That's a bit, generative modeling is a bit of like your artist friend, right? It's a special type of computer program, all right? It learns from a bunch of pictures, which is data. It learns from a data set that has been imputed into it, and based on whatever it obtains, whatever pattern that it recognizes in that data, or based on whatever pattern it sees in that picture, right? She would now generate different other, pictures based on what she has seen. Maybe she would see the picture, okay, cats have 4 legs, they have 4 on their body, they have like ears like these. I think some of I don't like cats. Nigeria has scared me. I saw one video of one man, that was abroad, a very popular man, and he was eating fries and chicken. And so a cat, one of these stray cats, now came to meet him. It was overseas though. And it was like, oh my God, my village people have come to meet me. It was very serious. Like the way he was shouting was like, my village people have come to see me, right? So, what's it called? Generative modeling is a bit like your artist friend, right? It takes in a given data set, the computer program, and it learns from a bunch of pictures that you show it, right? And, just like your friend learns the features of the dogs, your friend will learn the features of the cats, and from those pictures, just like that, the computer program will learn from your data sets and generate something special. It's to generate something that has never been seen before from something that has been seen, right? I remember when there was this AI that came out sometime, and then people were using it to generate different things. People were generating really absurd things. People were going the extra mile and generating disturbing things that should not be generated, right? People are doing crazy things with it, right? Things that have never been seen. So generative modeling is very magical because it gives computers the ability to generate something that has never been seen before from something that is currently existing, right? So yeah, your computer friend, the computer program would take in these different patterns from what it had seen. It will combine the features, from what it has obtained from the data set, and it will create pictures that look very, very, if it's trained well, we'll get to that look very original, that look very authentic, right? So it can be used in a lot of cool ways, really. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at the transformative potential of generative modeling. In today's in today's world where technology is driving a lot of things, fast changing, technological trends are coming up here and there, right? Generative modeling stands out because it's very profound, right? The fact that you can teach computer systems, the fact that you can train computer systems, right, to be as imaginative, perhaps even more imaginative than human beings can ever be, imaginative, right? The fact that it's like a special tools that that lets computer systems learn from things that they've never seen before, to create some things that to create things, to create things that has never been seen before from things that have been seen, right? That is the transformative potential of generative modeling. And, it's very beautiful because it shows a lot of potential, right? It can be, the powers of generative modeling can be harnessed. We'll be looking at the powers of generative modeling, the applications. It can be harnessed and it can be used in such, amazing ways in so many specific areas, in so many fields, right? It can be used to create movies. It can be used to generate art. Like that's the most popular one. It can be used to even generate stories, right? It can be used to generate stories. I remember, when Queen Elizabeth was still alive. I don't know whether it was still alive, right? There were many videos of her that came up. I remember seeing one where she was dancing. I think her cat was also dancing with her. So yeah, people are running wild with this generative modeling, but it also has its really good sides. So there are two types of generative models, right? And generative model is essentially a computer program. We're talking about generative modeling. So generative models it shouldn't be new to you. We've already talked about generative modeling. Generative model is basically a computer program or an algorithm that is designed to learn and replicate, the patterns that are present in a given data set. So remember when I said you give your magical artist friend various pictures of dogs and cats and whatever, and she extracts key features in those dogs, from those pictures, and she generates something new, right? That's what generative model is. A generative model is essentially a computer program or an algorithm that replicates the patterns present in a given data set, right? It observes a collection of examples, a collection of pictures. In this case, that we've been using analogies, pictures. It collects, observations from, and examples from data sets, and it uses that knowledge to generate something new, right? To generate similar examples that weren't a part of that data set initially. And there are two main types of these generative models. We have the generative adversarial networks, which was mentioned in the beginning of this presentation. And we also have variational autoencoders, right? Like I said, guys, generative modeling has many intricacies to it. It's an extremely, I don't want to use the word cumbersome, but a very complex concept. But if taught well, you would see that it's very simple and very interesting, right? So you're seeing a lot of information here. Right? So we are going to, my God, please give me a minute. Let's share. Okay, guys, so I just experienced a very minor inconvenience, and I just sent a direct message to training@bincom.net. Please, can you check it out? This was very unexpected. It is well. I would have to go. I don't know if it's possible for the next.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it. So the second speaker is kind of having a little challenge with network, but hopefully he joins soon. So while that is going on, or while she tries to sort out some issue, we'll just try to keep the session going. We'll just be asking some questions. We'll just be talking. Let's just talk around or play around the topic. So Yemisi, can you do like a little brief on this particular topic so we could have questions sprout from there, and then we'll just talk about it while we wait for our speaker to just rejoin.
Give me a moment.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, let me see. You can hear you.
All right,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So the speaker was talking about generative modeling. I'll be asking questions now. These questions will be for engaging conversation on what we know about artificial intelligence. I'm trying to bring it up now, so apologies. So now the first question goes, what is your understanding of generative modeling, and how do you think it is shaping the future of artificial intelligence application? Now, from our speaker, she gave us the definition of generative modeling. Now, I don't just want us to look at the English generative modeling because that can get complex really fast. I remember I talked about synthetic media in my first KD presentation. That time we talked about deepfakes, synthetic media, that's fake videos, fake audios. I had a picture in my slide that was a picture, it's not even a picture, it's a video without audio of the Mona Lisa moving. So that was generated using deepfakes. So now the question is very simple. What is your understanding of generative modeling, and how do you think it is shaping the future of AI applications? Please, can we have your response? Thank you. For all ye smart people in the house, all ye AI geeks, all ye people that are my boss, team lead is here. Everyone that is here, on your own knowledge, in your own aspect, what do you think generative modeling will do in the future? Team lead, not make I call you out. I will call everybody else. I know. See, team lead, you're calling yourself out already. You came late. You need to team lead. All right. So hello. How do you think it is shaping the future? I'm not only asking team lead, or everybody here is boss. So I can see Kilichi, Michael, Mr. Samuel, Fatia, David, Mr. David. Yeah, so how do you guys think AI is shaping, generative modeling is shaping the future of AI applications?
Okay, so generative modeling basically now is having our computers being able to create amazing stuff from learning. So for instance, you can feed it with some bunch of pictures, and you can be able to generate pictures on their own. I think there's a very common use for it currently. There's one I'm always seeing around. This
Mid
people
Journey.
use. Yeah, I can't remember, but there's a very common use of it right now. Okay, so it's very all right. So it's going to be very nice. So moving forward, for instance, we might be able to generate music for movies. Just like an example. So rather than having all this theme music, all this action music now, we can have AI doing all of those things. All right. So it's going to make a bunch of things very, very, very easy. Thinking of art, thinking of designs, thinking of several ideas, pictures, and so on. So very soon, the future will not be artwork. It will probably be AI generated artwork now, and it will be like a competition. It's going to be very cool going forward.
But this is on like a morally gray area, don't you think? Because I remember at the time news broke that people were really complaining that it is taking away, it is that it is stealing, that the companies that generate these models now, that the data they used to train it, they stole it from like online, the existing art. So that gray area, that's the interesting part, the gray area. People will be having a controversial conversation about all these things.
And there's always moral and ethical issues. They always raise for everything technology now. So you two don't cross the boundary. But eventually, it's the way it is going. Some of those things may not matter. There are some artworks that are so free that is well known. Unless you want to say that it is stolen. There are some things you cannot say they stolen. So yes, now. Okay, so yeah, so it's just a matter of time. Many of those things would come about. Ethical issues will always come to play. Does it make sense to steal artwork now and I'm using it to generate something else that is so cool and throw another person's business out of play? But eventually, I think it's very good for the future. I think it's even used for your movie recommendation. If you use some of these like Netflix and all of that now, how they recommend movies for you. They just know what you like. And YouTube too.
They'll keep track of your data.
YouTube too.
That's another aspect entirely.
Exactly. So they make use of all this. Yeah. So going forward, so we're already having use of these things now. So I think it's very, very cool. And going forward, it's going to get bigger and something that will be more embraced. Thank you.
I wonder how the world will be in 10, 20 years. Yes, Mr. David said it. I wonder how the world will be in 10, 20 years. Okay, so in the chat, we have a response here. It says, generative modeling is shaping the future of AI by enabling AI systems to generate creative content and simulate real-world scenarios. Jesus, please, Christ, don't move things like that. Driving advancement in arts, entertainment, simulation, and various industries. It is fostering innovation and personalization in AI applications, courtesy of our very wise boss here, David. I'm not going to pronounce your surname, but I will not butcher it. Okay. Mr. Wilson, if you are trying to talk, you are muted. Yes, everything will be automated in 20 years. Yeah. I mean, now imagine you walking into your house and then like everything just start doing on its own. I mean, they are smart vacuum cleaners nowadays. So I mean, someone like me now, it can help my ministry in the future. And if everything is smart now, there's smart television. That one, I don't necessarily think it has something to do with AI. But I mean, if they can incorporate AI in everything right now, I mean, to be nice. We have our speaker back. Not the.
Yes, I my village people came.
Be
I'm so
careful.
sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. So I just want to make sure that my apology has been received. Am I forgiven, guys? Because it was I feel like it was so abrupt. I was flowing and then this happened. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, we need the host to.
Thank you so much, Wisdom.
Oh, I'm even a host. I'm coming.
Okay.
I think it's the host that have to give you the permission to share.
Yes, I think so too.
And I'm Joy. Hello? Hello? Oh my gosh. All right. You know what? Since I'm a co-host, I don't know if she's available right now. Send the slides to me. Are you available?
Yeah, I am.
Please make a speaker a co-host. Thank you.
Okay. Just a few minutes. Sorry, I'll be making you a co-host. My network is a little bit bad.
Okay.
Okay, maybe you could just start talking. Then once I can resolve this network issue, I'll just make you the co-host and share your screen.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
No problem.
You can share your slides if I can be sharing it for you.
Okay, so I'll send it to you now. Should I send it to your email? Or should
Anyway, what do you use to create the slide?
let me send it to your email. I use PowerPoint. It's on PowerPoint.
Just send me the link. Make it accessible for me. Or you can just set it to Word view for the presentation.
All right, so I'm sending it to your WhatsApp now.
All right. You can continue while that one is going.
Okay, please check that you're now a host because I just made you a co-host. Okay, please check that you're
Okay, I've seen, okay. I can share the screen now. All right, let me get it then. All right. Okay. What's this? What's the time? That is 6403. It's more than I should be doing. Okay, so all right, guys. So again, extremely sorry. My battery. First of all, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. I'm so sorry, guys. I hate this. I hate this so much. Like, This battery, this was my major fear in this, like this battery will just give up on me. All right, so I think I stopped at the two types of generative models. I stopped at the two types of generative models from current slide, and I explained how that there are actually many types of generative models, because the topic of artificial intelligence is all encompassing, is extremely vast, extremely versatile. And I said I was going to mention the two major types of generative models that we have, being that would be the generative adversarial network and the variational auto encoders. These names sound extremely boring and annoying, so I will do my very best to ensure that it does not sound boring and annoying to you guys. So there's a lot of information here. This is too much story. I'm going to break down generative adversarial networks to you guys. And generative adversarial network is called SO, right? So one thing about me is that I'm very progressive in my learning. When I come across a concept, or maybe this is something that we just grew up with from primary school to secondary school to university, right? For instance, let's say they want to talk about family planning. Maybe they want to talk about family planning, right? They'll first of all define what a family is, and then define what planning is, and then bring the two concepts together and explain what family planning is. And I believe that's like the best approach to take when teaching people certain things, because it helps in retention when you're going into examination hall. Like I cannot tell you how many times I came across certain concepts in examination and they're like, oh, define this. And you know, what helped me was just being able to break it down, right? Or this is this means this, and then you bring the two concepts together, they mean this. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using that same approach right now for generative adversarial networks, where I'll be explaining what and why it is called a generative adversarial network. So a generative adversarial network is called so because it actually involves two key components. It involves a generative model and an adversarial process, right? It involves a generative, we see generative, and then adversarial. So it involves a generative model and an adversarial process. And I will be using an analogy to explain what exactly is going on between these two components of this generative model. So I'm going to be using a lot of arts. My initial LinkedIn bio was software engineer with a passion for history and arts. I love history, I love arts, I love tech, I love things. I just love learning new things, right? So I'm going to be using the concept of art to explain what exactly goes on between these two components in this generative model, in this type of generative model being the generative adversarial network. So imagine you are in an art competition, and you know, this art competition is not like your typical art competition whereby you have two artists, right? And they are doing different paintings based on whatever landscape you give them. If you say, oh, draw a mountain landscape or an ice mountain landscape or a snowy landscape or a garden, whatever the landscape may be, and then you want to choose the best, right? This is different, right? We're using analogies. This art competition is very unusual in the sense that it involves two people. But whereas this, in your normal competition, when you think of a competition, the two people will definitely be generating art content, right? This competition, one person will be generating the art and the other person will be criticizing the person's artwork. And this is where the adversarial process comes in. So remember, the GAN consists of two components. We have the generative model and the adversarial process. And the aim of this adversarial, generative and adversarial process, the aim of this adversarial process is to ensure that the generative model, which is the GAN in this process, brings forth a data set or brings forth a representation of the original data set that is very, very similar to the given original data set. So let's just make that much more coherent. So the generative part of the GAN generates data. Okay, so we were using the arts, right? The art concept, right? So you have two artists. one who creates the paintings, and then you have another one that tries to figure out if these paintings are real or fake, right? And this is what the generative adversarial network inculcates, right? But instead of computers, right, I'm using artists in order to make it much more, understandable to you guys. So the art creator, which is the generator in this sense, is the generator is the art creator. And think of this generator as an art making robot or an art making person, right? This generator is responsible for generating art. And it does this by looking at the given data set, the given data input, right? And so based on the given data set, based on the given pictures, it makes random pictures that don't look anything special, really. So it starts off that way. And then after it does this, the art critic, which is the discriminator, there are two main people involved in this adversarial process. You have the generator and you have the discriminator. The generator is the one that is responsible for generating the data based on the given data set. It generates multiple representations of that data, different from it, but still possesses the major characteristics, right? While the discriminator, which is the second part of this model, is responsible for criticizing if this data is as authentic as it should, right? And we're using art in this sense. So let's say you give this adversarial network, this your generative model, a bunch of pictures, possibly a bunch of pictures of, let's use Jennifer Lopez, right? And you want this generative model to create pictures that look very much similar to Jennifer Lopez, doing different things, maybe cooking, washing clothes, maybe like an African mother, doing things that an African mother would do, right? You want to see how it would be for this, what's it called? For this celebrity, American celebrity to be as an African mother, right? You want her to look like an African mother. So you have this generative model, have the two components being the generator and the discriminator, and you're training this model, to generate pictures. You give them many pictures of Jennifer Lopez, and it begins to generate multiple pictures of Jennifer Lopez doing different things as you specify it to, right? And then the discriminator comes in, and the responsibility of this discriminator, which is essentially a neural network, is to criticize the generated data, right? It acts like a detective. It looks at the paintings, it looks at the pictures that have been generated by the generator, and it tells if it's real or tells if it's fake. Now, this adversarial process, this is where the adversarial process now comes in, right? The generator wants to get, the aim of this adversarial process is to get the generator to get better at making realistic, authentic pictures, such that the discriminator would not be able to tell that this is real or fake. And as the generator keeps on generating these pictures, as it keeps on generating multiple pictures, the discriminator would also get good at figuring out if it's real or fake. So both components of these models are getting better. They're getting smarter. But it will get to a point, and it should get to a point. That's when you know that your process, your modeling is successful. It should get to a point where your generator is able to learn from the corrections of the critic and generate authentic pictures, such that you wouldn't even know if it's real. Like, you will see this picture of Jennifer Lopez looking like an African mother, and you will not know if it's real or fake. You can't tell if it's an artificial intelligence or a robot that created it. The only reason you will know it's not real is because we know Jennifer Lopez is a celebrity. She is not African. She can never be tying Ankara, no matter what. So that's the only way you and I can know that it is real. So that's basically how this generative adversarial network model works. It involves a generator that is part of the GAN and is responsible for generating data. And the adversarial part of the GAN involves an adversarial process between the generator and the discriminator, where the generator tries to produce data that is realistic enough to deceive the discriminator, and the discriminator tries to get better at telling if it's real or fake, right? So, a generative adversarial network is a training. It involves a lot of training. You're training two major parts of your generative model. So I believe that is clear. So the two networks are in constant competition. Both of them are trying to get better. The discriminator is trying to get better at figuring out if this artist is fake. You are a fake artist. This is not real. This is fake art, right? So the discriminator is trying to criticize this as best as it can, and it keeps on getting better. The generator, on the other hand, gets better learning from the corrections of the critic, gets better at making realistic, authentic pictures that you can't even tell if it's real or fake, right? And it says here that the two networks are in constant competition, with the generator improving its ability to generate more convincing data and the discriminator improving its ability to distinguish real from fake data. This adversarial relationship between the generator and the discriminator is what gives GANs their name and their unique ability to create high quality, realistic, synthetic data, right? So it's synthetic because it's not real, right? But you can't tell the difference because the generator has gotten extremely good at deceiving the discriminator and in turn deceiving us, right? In summary, GANs use this competitive interaction, between a generator and a discriminator to learn and generate data that closely resembles real data, right? So, this adversarial learning process has led to, impressive results in different fields, right? Whereby you have, okay, you know what, we'll look at that when we go into the applications of generative modeling. I'll be making a lot of emphasis in the healthcare because that was where I was greatly fascinated as to how generative modeling can actually, you can harness the transformative potential of generative modeling in the healthcare sector, but we'll also be looking at other sectors. So the next type of GAN the next type of generative model that we will be looking at, there are two major types. The first being the generative adversarial network. The next one that we will be looking at is the variational autoencoders, right? And just as we used an analogy to explain the generative adversarial network to make it coherent for you, we would also be using an analogy to explain the variational autoencoders. So please keep in mind the generative adversarial network is a learning process, right? Where you have two major components, the generator and the discriminator, and both of them are just working towards getting better. The generator working towards getting better at generating real synthetic data, while the discriminator is getting better at catching whether or not this is a crook, right? So that is that for the GAN. Now, the variational autoencoder is a type of generative model in machine learning, and it aims to learn a probabilistic, this is just too much story. If you want to read this, you can read it, but I will be using an analogy to make it extremely interesting and coherent to each and every single one of you. Again, we'll be using art, right, to explain these variational autoencoders. So imagine you have an artist friend, right? And this your friend is, really talented. She's really good at, this your friend is really good at painting any landscape that is, given to her. She can paint the moon, she can paint the space, she can paint the Milky Way, the sunny beaches. She's really good at painting, right? And now you want to teach her, you want to teach your computer system how to paint just like your friend can paint, right? So variational autoencoders, right? Let's do what we did with the generative modeling, right? And break down why it's called a variational autoencoder, first of all, before we can now explain what the variational autoencoder is altogether. So variational autoencoder, we'll start first of all with autoencoder. What exactly is an autoencoder? So first, let's look at autoencoders, and imagine you have an artist friend that loves to paint. This your friend is an expert at painting. When I was young, I have a twin brother, by the way. We are very, very creative. We used to love to, what's it called? Draw, right? We used to make, it was not that good, but for our age, it was good. It's been a while since I painted, right? But we were very good, right? So I love painting, I love art. Maybe that's why I still love art, even though I've discarded that hobby. But imagine you have a friend that loves to paint, she loves art, and she's so skilled, right? This your friend is so skilled that she can take a complex picture. That is, you can give her a picture. I don't know whether you guys have seen pictures of all these Picasso's paintings. Like, They used to make really weird paintings, guys. Like, I think it's just consist of circle, box, and they're just layered. And I don't even know why people used to buy it because it looks trash. But rich people like nonsense. I don't know. It's so like it used to be so ugly, right? It's so complex. But then by the time they look at it, right, they'll be like, this represents the sad situation of the nation at this point. The political situation is so bad. The way this person's hand is like this shows how he's reaching for help. And you can't see it, but they can see it, right? So you just have to believe them because they're the ones that painted it. So, so you give this your artist friend a complex painting, perhaps you don't understand, and you want her to create a simplified version of that complex painting so that you can actually see what the artist was explaining, right? So you want her to break it down. So this your friend, what she would do, right, as a good artist, is that she would take this complex painting and she would take note of very key points. She will capture the essence of the picture. So let's make this very, very much practical, right? As though you want to make a variational autoencoding model. Let's say it's a picture of a cat, but the cat is doing something very complex, right? It's a real picture, but it's extremely complex. So what this computer program will do, because essentially all these generative models are just neural networks, and we'll be looking at neural networks in generative modeling as the time goes on, right? So what they will do, what this your computer program will do, is that it will capture the essence of the cat. It will see the structure. It won't just take into consideration that, oh, the cat has 4 legs, it has 2 eyes. No. It will look at the structure of the nose, the structure of the eye, the structure of the mouth, the structure of the ear, to capture key components, right? And let's say the picture is depicting a sad cat. There's a way sadness will be depicted, right? Like the cat's face, it will be droopy, like it will capture the intricacies of that complex picture. And then it will now generate a simplified version of it, right? It's still the picture itself. It still captures the essence, a cat that is sad, right? But it won't be as complex looking as it originally was. And what makes it variational is the fact that it won't just generate one, it will generate multiple, various pictures of this cat in a simplified version, right? A simplified version, it's easily, you can easily tell that it's fake. So the next step in this variational autoencoding process is now the decoding process. After it has generated this multiple, after it has captured the essence of the picture, the intricacies of that picture, right? What makes that data set, like the key components of that data set, it would store it in a place called the latent space. Neural networks are extremely layered, like it consists of layers and layers of nodes and neurons and that are responsible for just processing and transforming data, right? So it has one of the layers of the neural networks is a latent space where it will just store the key components of your data set, the key structures, the essence essentially of your data set. And after it does this, based on the characteristics it has obtained from that data, it will now generate various simplified versions of the original picture, original data, whatever it is. And after it has done this, because it wants to create something that looks authentic, it will now decode it, whereby it will combine these simplified things that it has created into something more realistic, right? So that is basically what the variational autoencoding process is all about. Now, if you want to get it, in a technical form, you can look at this little definition that I have here, whereby variational autoencoding is a type of generative model in machine learning, and it aims to learn a probabilistic representation of data by encoding it into a lower dimensional latent space and then decoding it back to the original data space. Guys, this is so much story. VAEs, that is variational autoencoders, introduce a probabilistic component, modeling data as a probability distribution, and this is just the mathematical, this is what's going on behind the scenes, guys. Like this is the mathematical, side of it, right? So I use the analogy to just basically help you understand. Obviously, everything that I'm saying right now, a lot of mathematics is going on behind the scenes, the probability, everything is going on at the normal distribution, data interpolation is going on behind the scenes, right? But that is essentially what is trying to bring out, right? That's just a breakdown of what the variational is and what the auto encoding is, right? So now that we have understood, I believe to a good extent what, because I don't have a lot of time, what the GAN is and what the variational autoencoding is, I believe the next question that should be on our mind is which is better? Which is better, right? So having explored both models, it's crucial to address the question of which one is better, like which one can I say is more effective than the other, which is why I stated this to be choosing the more effective model. And mentioned here the choice between GANs and that is the generative adversarial networks and the variational autoencoders depends on the specific requirement of your task. Now, if your primary goal is to generate high quality realistic images, remember the GAN made use of the generative model and the adversarial process where both of them are getting better, all to the end that the generator is able to present or present a model or present a picture. In that case, we were talking about pictures that is extremely, it looks so authentic yet synthetic that the discriminator cannot even tell the difference, right? So if your aim is to generate a high quality realistic image with a focus on visual quality, then GANs are often the better choice. However, if you're interested in learning a structured representation of the data, remember the variational autoencoders whereby you have your data set, right? It captures the essence of these data sets and creates multiple versions, simplified versions of this data set, which is stored in a latent space. And then using what it has there, it decodes it back, to create something original looking, right? So if you're interested in learning a structured representation of the data, handling missing or noisy data, performing tasks like data interpolation, then variational autoencoders might be more appropriate. Too much talk. Now, it's important to understand that many researchers, right, when it comes to even choosing the best model that you want to use, right, it's important to understand that many things come into consideration, right? You would consider so many things. You will consider the quality of your data. This is what we'll be looking at this when we're talking about ethical implications of generative modeling, right? You can know what this, you know what this GAN is all about. You know what this variational autoencoding is all about, right? But there are so many things that should be put into consideration when training your models. You would have to put into consideration the quality of your data, the quantity of the data that you've given your model. You would also have to put into consideration the architectural design of your neural network. You would also have to put into consideration the training strategy, right? We've looked at two training strategies. We looked at the training strategy in the GAN. We also looked at the training strategy in the variational autoencoders. So there are so many things to put into consideration. So we really can't say which is the best or the more effective model, because there are so many things that you also should put into consideration. Like you can say now that the GAN is the best, but then you do not put those things into consideration. It's just fail. Your model will fail. Whatever you create will just fail woefully, right? And some people, some researchers, some practitioners can even go as far as making it hybrid. Like they bring, the concept of generative, the generative adversarial network. They also bring in the strength of the variational autoencoders, right? And they use both training models, both training principles to generate whatever outcome that they want, right? So we should be rounding up very soon. Neural networks, generative modeling, okay, neural networks. So we mentioned neural networks when we were talking about generative modeling. And in the context of generative modeling, neural network acts as the brains of the operation, learning from the data and using that learning to generate new data that adheres to the learned patterns. Too much talk. So in simple terms, neural network is actually like your brain. It's not like your brain, right? But the developers of, the brains behind, the scientists behind the development of neural networks took into, they wanted to create or, make neural networks. It got its inspiration from the brain, from the human brain, the different layers of the human brain. Just like the human brain has so many layers, so also does the neural network has, it also has so many layers, right? And neural networks, your GANs is a neural network. Your variational autoencoder is a neural network with some mathematical stuff happening behind the scene. And is a computational model inspired by the structure of the human brain, right? And it consists of interconnected layers called neurons in your brain, but in the computational terms, your nodes. And these nodes are responsible for transforming data. So neural network basically, in generative modeling, neural network is responsible for, they are used to learn patterns and relationships in the input data. Remember, the variational auto-encoding model was responsible for identifying the patterns, the intricacies of the picture, right? So neural networks are responsible for identifying the patterns and the relationships in the input data, right? And these patterns could be complex, it could be abstract, right? But it recognizes those patterns, right? And then after it generates those patterns, it stores it in what we call a latent space. And after it has gotten all of this, it's there's the training and optimization that goes on behind the scenes, where in the training process, the neural network, the aim basically is to ensure that the difference between the original data sets and the generated data set is very, very little, right? So neural network is basically all the analogies that I've been using for the GANs and your VAEs. Neural networks are actually what makes that possible. The transformation of the data, the processing of the data is neural network that goes on behind the scenes. So now we're going to be looking at the applications of generative modeling, right? So there are many, many places that generative modeling is used. This is just a few because I'm working with time. This is just a few of the places that generative modeling is used. Generative modeling is used in image generation and manipulation. Trust me, I'm not going to be that person that will just read it to you. I would also actually advise that, I don't know if, okay, I think this is being live streamed, so you can actually go back, or you can even do your own personal research and actually see in details how generative modeling is used in all of these aspects. But let's talk about text generation, infamous ChatGPT, which actually makes use of, let me check my chats. The infamous ChatGPT. Time, guys, time. I'm so sorry. So ChatGPT, let's just talk about ChatGPT, right? Because that's the most popular. I believe everybody knows what ChatGPT is. ChatGPT actually makes use of generative modeling, specifically the transformation generative modeling, which is a neural network that is responsible for text generation, text transformation, and all of those things. Generative modeling is also used in finance, is also used in your healthcare, is used in data augmentation, image generation, right? What's the name of that app that came out where people were generating images of themselves? Yeah, ChatGPT. I say ChatGPT. Generative modeling is
Midjourney.
Is what makes that possible. Yes, Yamisi, did you say something?
I said Midjourney. Midjourney.
Okay. All right, so rounding up. Next, we're going to be talking about the challenges of generative modeling. And this is, I'm not going to be reading a lot. You can see all of the challenges of generative modeling. But when I was reading this, when I was creating these slides of the challenges of generative modeling, I remembered this movie, John Wick, right? Obviously, AI, let's not lie to ourselves. There are a lot of fears surrounding artificial intelligence, right? People fear that robots will take over the world. People fear that AI would take over our jobs. But there was a post that I saw concerning this fear. And the person said, artificial intelligence will not take over your job. It's somebody that knows how to use artificial intelligence that will take over your job. Because, and I agree with that statement to the core. Because these are robots, like these are machines. Your television at home does not come up by itself. Like, you will still need to control it, right? So human beings would not be displaced. In fact, many human beings that would know how to harness the power of artificial intelligence are the ones that will be employed, right? And I can never forget watching one movie, And in this movie, I'm going to be quick. In this movie, this young man was about to rob the company that he was working with before, but he was fired. He was fired because he did something wrong. And so in order to, for vengeance sake, he went back to the company and he wanted to steal their money and everything. So when he got to the desk and met the person that was actually in charge of the place, he wanted to go in and steal. The person did not agree, right? I think the person's name was Steve. They always use Steve for all those kind of weaklings. And he looked at Steve and it was like, Steve, do you really want to fight for a company that would replace you with a chatbot? Do you want to fight for a company that will replace you with a chatbot in 2 seconds? And Steve thought about it and he let him pass because he realized that a chatbot can literally replace him. But guys, no, do not be afraid of that. Artificial intelligence will not replace you. Instead, someone that knows how to use artificial intelligence will take over from you. But I believe everyone here would actually begin to learn more about artificial intelligence, right? So speaking on the challenges of artificial intelligence, of generative modeling, which is a branch of AI, I was making reference to John Wick. And John Wick is a movie, I believe everybody knows what John Wick is. John Wick is a movie about a young man who lost his wife, and the wife gave him a dog before she died. So the dog was of high sentiment, like it was a very sentimental thing to him. Unfortunately, the dog was kidnapped, so the dog was killed or something, and so he went to go and fight every single person that stole the dog. And so I remember watching a joke on it, like there was a meme on it that someone was like, I thought John Wick was overreacting until I went to go and price dog in the market. So what am I'm driving somewhere. John Wick is a very popular man. All right, thank you. John Wick is a very, very popular man. Like, he's very popular, but he's an introvert. Like, he doesn't talk much. You hardly see him on the internet. You hardly see him on social media, right? But somebody took it upon themselves, right, to go and create a page for John Wick. And this page of John Wick, entails John Wick doing things that you'll naturally not see him do because, like I said, he's extremely introverted. So they created a page that was dedicated to, presenting an extroverted side of John Wick. And this person that we see there was actually not John Wick. It was AI generated John Wick, right? So John Wick is extremely popular. So there is no way that he has not seen that. I'm sure he's aware of, this establishment, this page, right? And, since this page is still up and running, it means that, he's okay with it. He has not dismissed it, right? But where it would become an issue for John Wick. That's not his real name, by the way. I don't know his real name. I don't really watch movies like that. But where it would become an issue is if this person or these people that are doing this would begin to generate videos of him doing things that are disturbing, things that are contrary to his moral standards and principles and values. That is where it will become an issue, right? And these are the challenges and consideration that comes in with generative modeling. Data, okay, let's not look at data quality. That will come into privacy and ethics, right? People, I believe privacy and ethics would be, it's all encompassing, right? I believe generative modeling would also have the ability to, okay, let's just stick to the John Wick story, right? When it comes to privacy, when it comes to ethics, when it comes to responsible, being respectful to people's privacy, right? That is one of the challenges of generative modeling. I remember watching a video. It was quite viral. The video went viral. It was about a young girl, that was talking to her parents. And she was like, please stop posting my pictures because people can use my pictures and they can, criminals can even use my pictures and all of those things, right? So these are some of the challenges. Okay. So these are some of the challenges that come up with generative modeling, right? Now, considerations, that was for challenges. Now, considerations. Remember, I said when it comes to choosing an effective model, you want to look at data quality and quantity, right? Is this data authentic? Is this data sharp enough? Is this data easily readable? You also want to look at the quantity of data. Are you feeding your model enough data? You would also want to consider powerful computers, proper training. I don't know how to strictly train. Proper training, quality control, fairness and ethics, right? Now, the good thing about this, the next thing here is actually, the next thing I have here is ethical implications, right? Which is actually very similar to challenges and considerations, right? Now, the good thing about this generative modeling, right? And the good thing about society at large is the implementation of laws. So if at any instance this power, the transformative potential of generative modeling is being abused, we definitely have laws that will be put in place and are currently even put in place to regulate the, abuse of generative modeling. So the power to generate content that blurs the line between reality and fiction raises significant concerns related to misinformation, right? Privacy invasion, bias, perpetration, and the erosion of trust in digital media. In this discussion, we delve into this, that, blah, 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 while promising many ways. So we've already looked at it in the previous challenges where we're talking about challenges and consideration. So some of the ethical implications, misinformation, like false information, putting out information or a video of someone that the person didn't even say that. I remember when there was a viral video that, that Joe Biden, apparently he said that he has stepped down and he's resigning, and it was very viral, but I didn't believe him because I saw it and I was a discriminator. I was the discriminative component of the generative adversarial network. I criticized it and I saw that it was fake. That was not Joe Biden. That was an AI generated Joe Biden. Privacy invasion, like I said about, the John Wick impersonation, still John Wick, bias and fairness, intellectual property, security threats, identity theft. Yes, that is very, very true. Hackers. In fact, I think another interesting thing to look at is how the fact that hackers can actually really harness the powers of artificial intelligence, generative modeling. They can really do a lot, but we trust God, as well as loss of trust. So this is the second to the last. After this, we'll be concluding upcoming developments in generative, upcoming developments in generative modeling. In the rapidly evolving landscape of generative modeling, forthcoming developments promise to further amplify the impacts of its transformative technology. Guys, I'm really excited to see where artificial intelligence will take us to. I know one of the desires, some people, not everyone, but people are actually interested in seeing the fact that we have like actual robots, people are really wilding. A lot of scientists are wilding in terms of the powers of artificial intelligence and generative modeling and what it can do in various sectors, especially the healthcare sector. There's the recent development of artificial wombs to help women that cannot carry children, that cannot bear children, right? So I'm really excited to see where AI would lead us. Generative modeling is a very crucial part of artificial intelligence, right? And it's rapidly evolving, right? And these advancements marked by enhanced stability, interpretability, and efficiency are poised to bring generative models into an even broader range of applications, right? We literally came from a point where we did not believe that aeroplanes we could have aeroplanes fly in the sky, right? We did not believe that we could travel to space. We did not believe that, imagine being here and I'm being able to have a conversation with someone that is in Saudi Arabia. Guys, technology has done so much for us, right? We have pushed past the mental limitations and we have been able to create things that, like I said, limitations people never really thought could be, right? So I really do believe that, generative modeling being a core part of AI would really take us to so many places, from revolutionizing healthcare and climate modeling, which seems to be a very key topic, right? And the future of generative modeling holds the potential to reshape industries and foster responsible innovation. So now comes the conclusion, guys. I don't know. Okay, conclusion. Let's close this. Conclusion. I don't know what is wrong with this. All right, guys. So in conclusion, thank you guys so much for your patience. Generative modeling is the bridge between imagination and creation, opening doors to endless possibilities in the world of technology and beyond. As we harness the powers of algorithms and generate, innovate, and inspire, remember that our collective curiosity and creativity are the driving forces behind progress. Let us continue to explore, learn, and shape a future limited only by our imagination. Thank you for your attention. And here's to the exciting journey ahead. Thank you, guys.
Oh my God, thank you so much for this session. I mean, I was a little bit clueless about most of the things I'll say today, but honestly, with this, I think I've gotten like a lot of insight into generative modeling. And on the side, I was just trying to do my little research on it so I can, get a bit acquainted with what the topic is. And I think I see a bright future for generative modeling and AI. Yeah, I know it has come to stay and it's going to revolve in every aspect of life, arts, creativity. I mean, I would love to see artists and content creators collaborate with AI to, do something
Yes.
really amazing. I like the last part where you said that it's a bridge between imagination and what's the other thing? Yeah,
Creative.
so I'm sure we are having like I'm expecting so much for the future. I really don't know. I don't even have what to a specific expectation. I just know that the things that we'll be doing in the next 10 years, 5 years from now are going to be really, really mind blowing. So thanks to AI. So it's not a bad time to actually tap into that fuel of AI. Thank you so much, Fortune. I mean, this
Thank you
was
so
really an
much.
exciting session. I had to be doing my own Google search. If you say a word I don't know, I just go on Google and check what it means. So I'm not clueless. I like the session. It was really an exciting one. Thank you.
Thank
Okay, so moving forward, we'll create a panel for our with our speakers where we can entertain your questions. So I'm sure you have a whole lot of questions. Please don't keep them. Just write them down or keep them somewhere. And then when we're done with the second speaker, we'll go over all the questions. So if you have questions, you have contributions, please don't go. Stay with us and we'll take care of all of those questions. Okay, so I'll be moving forward to our second speaker, and we have an amazing skilled Python developer. His name is Peter. He specializes in crafting dynamic web application using frameworks like Django and Flask. His expertise extends into the realm of AI, where he delves into creating innovative solutions using Python. He has a passion for both web development and AI, and he brings a versatile approach in the world of programming. Please, you can use the reaction and the clap reaction as we bring on our second speaker, Peter. It's nice having you here.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me? Good evening, everyone.
Yes, Liz, we can hear you.
All right. Sorry, apologies for coming in late. I really had issues with network here. Okay. All right. So I need to actually share my screen right now. I'm not really the host because I'm seeing host disabled right
Sorry,
now.
I'm making you the co-host already.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you can share your screen now.
Okay. Smooth. All right. Can you all see my screen? Can you all see my screen? All right, so I will begin. So just like the first speaker spoke, she actually dealt with the topic. I won't say a lie here. She dealt with the topic. Like she pieces it. Congratulations to her.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm the only one, but your voice seems to be really, really low.
Okay. How about now? Can you hear me?
A little bit faint. Please, am I the only person?
Okay. How about now?
It's better. It's better now.
Right. So like I was saying, I said the first speaker actually dealt with the topic. Congratulations to her. All right. So I'll be quick enough for that. And well, introduction here. This presentation explores the capabilities and limitations of GM in AI. All right. So we'll talk about the different types of generative models, and their applications in various fields, such as image and text generation. So give me, let me change. Right, how about now? Can you hear me? All right, great. So generative modeling is the type of machine learning that involves creating models that can generate new data that is similar to training data. So this can be done using techniques such as GANs and then VAE. Just like our first speaker already dealt with it, you know. So I will just be fast with that. So types of generative models, sorry. Okay. There are several types of generative models, such as GANs, VAEs, autoregressive models, flow-based models. Now, each type has its own strengths and weaknesses and is suited for different types of data. All right, just like our first speaker said, like the areas you want to use any of these types of GMs, all right, it depends on what project do you want to work on, you know, because each of these models have their strengths and their weaknesses. Okay, one can be good at generating um, a particular kind of data for you than the other. Okay, so applications of generative modeling. So GM has a wide range of applications such as image, text generation, music generation, and even drug discoveries. So we'll discuss some of the exciting applications of the model in different fields. Limitations of generative models. Why GM has shown great promise in generating realistic data, there are still some limitations to the technology. This includes issues with model collapse or mode collapse, lack of interpretability, and difficulty in training. Now, evaluating generative models. This is actually an important type in GM. Okay, the metrics such as inception score, spreadsheet inception distance, that's FID, PPL, that's the perceptual path length, are commonly used to evaluate the quality of generative images. Now, these metrics are actually used for for image generation. All right, just like our first speaker was trying to say, this is an example of Jennifer Lopez. If I'm right, I think that's actually she used. JLo, like trying to generate images of her. Already the machine must have been trained enough with different pictures of JLo's images. Okay, in order for it to actually generate its own um, JLo's image. All right. So this metric is actually used to evaluate the quality of such generated JLo's image. Now we have feature of generative modeling. Now the future of GM is actually exciting with new techniques and applications being developed all the time. All right. Some of them include improving and interpretability of GMs and developing new applications in fields such as healthcare and finances. All right, I would take for example for healthcare. Right now it's actually I think I saw a video also about an AI trying to create what's it called a human being, like the face, the body, and everything about human. So actually, the human being was trying to be was actually a wife to a man. The wife is dead actually. Real life, she's dead. All right. But the AI was trying to create one like that for her, for the husband. Sorry, for the husband. So when the husband saw the robot, he was actually shocked. The first thing was, she looks like my wife. Yes. So I guess with this the way AI is going, especially this GM, is actually on a very, very high level, on a very, very like top notch. So that's the thing. So now challenges in GM. So despite the potential of GM, there are still many challenges. Obviously, number one is if your data is not private, people can actually use your data and generate things and then cause cyber fraud. All right. So what's it called? This includes improving and robustness and stability of GMs, dealing with bias and in-generated data, and developing methods for generating structured data. So that's one of the challenges, what's it called, of GMs. Now, ethical considerations. As with any new technology, there are ethical considerations to be aware of when working with GM. Now, this includes issues such as data privacy, number one. Okay, because because we're already in the internet world, and internet is deals with data, and obviously there's no how as a human being you can't say your data is not out there because you'll be so short. So long. Let me take for example now your NIN, your BVN. I'm using Nigeria as example now. NIN, BVN, that date, your driver license, whatever. You know, these things are actually on the net already. So long you're using them, your data is out there. So if there's no data privacy, hackers, can actually use your data and manipulate another person. You understand? So that's just, but that's why there are, there are bodies that structure or that put in place um, in the use of or in the applications of GMs, especially when it comes to AI. All right. So in conclusion, GM has shown great promise in generating realistic data and has a wide range of applications in various fields. However, there are still limitations and challenges that need to be addressed and ethical considerations to be aware of. Now, the future of GM is exciting, obviously, because everybody now wants an easier life. Nobody wants stress anymore again. So we look forward to seeing how this technology develops in the coming years. Okay, well, that sums it up for me. I don't want to take much of your time because the case has actually dealt with this topic. But I'm going to close it on this note. Um, there's also a video I saw on LinkedIn actually. So I think it's on a TED talk. So this girl, parents are actually dropping her pictures, on social media, Instagram, Facebook, uh, yeah, Instagram and Facebook. So anytime it's her birthday, they always post her pictures. Hey, I'm wishing you whatever, whatever. All those birthday wishes towards her. So not knowing that, what's it called? Well, it was actually an experiment that the company was working on. So the company actually was using the girl's picture to generate a future her. Because the girl was like, I think she was 13 or so when the last time her parents posted her picture on social media. So the company actually generated a future her, and then with the AI being used, they generate a carbon copy of her future self. And then the carbon copy of her future self was now like telling her parents, hey, because of what's it called? You've been posting my pictures online, exposing my data and everything online. What's it called? With this is how my pictures, my data that you've been exposed to actually were used to create this picture me. You understand? So her parents were actually perplexed and they were like, wow, this is that kind of shock they get. So let's say that the world of AI, our world now is actually, let's say, actually scale at which is growing is at very, very fast rate. So with that, that would end my talk on GM right now. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much for that session. So, please, it's time for questions. If you have any question, you can either raise your hand, unmute and speak, or you can send your question here in the chat. So, one of the participants here dropped some questions with me before he left. Seems like he had um, low battery, but had to drop off. So I'll just be forwarding it here. Okay, so and then I'll just go ahead and read it. The first question is, what is the fundamental goal of generative modeling in machine learning? So I think I should leave that question to Peter.
All right. So okay, first of all, let me ask this question to everyone. I'm going to throw this question to everyone out now. Do you really want how would I say it now? Okay, right now, let me use Nigeria as an example now. Okay, the way our country is and everything now, would you prefer to actually work in a very smooth environment whereby everything can be done automatically for you because there's a machine that does that for you, you know, that takes the strenuous part of your job? That's the question I'm throwing out to everybody right now. Would you rather like that, or would you rather take on the strenuous part of your job? You know, as developers right now.
Okay, that question is for everyone. Someone says stress-free. Myself,
Right.
I would love it to be automated.
All right. So that's one of the fundamental goals of GMs right now. You know, because apart from it taking on the strenuous part of your job, you know, it makes you as a developer efficient. You know, artists right now, you know, they can take days to actually do a perfect artwork, you know, but with a machine now, you know, because it has been trained with different models, different data and everything. Wonder how many seconds it has done the work that an artist takes so much days, you know, to do, or so much time to do. You know, the machine can do under how many minutes or seconds. I'm done with it. All what the artist just need to do is print out this image and then he starts sending it out. You understand? So that's one of the fundamental role of GMs, or should I say in machine learning. All right, so let me see the next question. Okay, so next question. How do generative models generate new data, and what distinguishes them from discriminative models? All right. I think I'll leave this to the first speaker. All right, and then the third one to the first speaker also. What are the key applications of GM across various domains, including computer vision, natural NLP, and healthcare? All right, I think I'll leave the rest to the first speaker. All right, our Misfortune. You still here? Hello?
Muted. I was muted. All right.
All right.
So the question of how do generative models generate new data and what distinguishes them from discriminative models. So the topic of generative models and the discriminative model came up when we were talking about the generative adversarial networks, right? And discriminative. Okay, now number 3 question. The person brought up descriptive modeling. Was that, I don't know whether that was a mistake, because I don't think I said anything about descriptive. I did say discriminative, where the second component of the generative adversarial network acts as a critic. So answering questions